Thank you for joining the meeting. We're just getting, letting everyone join the webinar, and we will start shortly. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you for all being here tonight. Sorry, I'm like not here. This is going to be a future of our schools community conversation. As we get started, please share your name and one word that reflects what matters most to you in your local schools. It would be a value, a feeling, or a hope for the future. So let's go around and do quick introductions for everyone. Mary?
Sure, I'll begin. My name is Mary Bracken. I'm a former teacher from the Guerneville School District. I can't say one word, and it's going to be that buzzword, but equity, parity, true community involvement.
Right.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Sundberg, and I have lots of words too, but the one that keeps coming back is continuity and, opportunity.
Hi, I'm Dana Dunn, and my one word would be availability.
Finance.
Oh, you want to do that?
Yeah, Max Broom, and I'm seeing opportunity and planning for the future.
I'm checking to see what is in the. I'll take it. I'll take, oh, okay. Nice. Everybody has shared in the Q&A.
Okay.
It brings me the,
So we're doing introductions, you guys, and then one word that Kathy and one word that reflects what matters most to our schools and
Community.
community. Introduce yourself and then just say one word. Okay. That the value, feeling, or hope for the future first.
Pride. Pride.
Right?
Yeah.
Hi, so what we're doing now is just, introducing yourself, your name, and then if there's a, one word that when you think about, how you want your local public schools to be.
Okay, I'm Kathy Smith. And it's probably community.
I'm Diane Hillman and it's Pride.
Diane, what was your word?
Pride,
Pride.
yeah.
Julie. Hi. Hi.
Yeah, mine pride.
Pride.
So we'll just use pride.
All right. And I think that's everybody in the room. Let's see if anybody online. Okay, so I am Kimberly Lambert, for those of you who may not know me. And I am, Max and I are kind of bouncing off each other for a few years now. I'm a retired board member for Guerneville Elementary for 20-something years. And Max and I kind of met, went to SCO, talked with Amy Carter about what we can do to get our Molino back open. So we worked together on getting the unification study going again, and it's all done. And so now we're just working on our next step is community involvement. So we really would like to hear from folks about what they would like to see from our schools. You know, what kind of a school do we want to build? It's a perfect opportunity for us to kind of use this time to create a school for all of our kids out here in West County. There are a lot of moving pieces, a lot of steps that we have to do. But this is just the next step that we're doing, and that's community involvement. So this is just the second meeting that we've had. We have one more Saturday at Cas Fire Department. And then after that, we'll be having more and more and more as soon as.
I know a couple of people would like to come, but
Yeah.
today's soccer and I couldn't come, much to come, another meeting.
Yeah, so we will be having a lot more. So why unify? Ensure local control and decision-making for rural communities that often feel left out of larger systems. Increase efficiency, coordination, and access to resources. Create a seamless K-12 educational experience for students in the West County region and reopen FL Molino as a comprehensive high school, fully integrated with the region's elementary and middle schools. So you guys have questions as we go. Now you can go ahead and ask questions. And if we don't have the answers to those questions, we definitely will get back to you. Our website is also coming a little bit more with more information. So that will be a great resource for folks to go check out. And hopefully we'll have the answers. This is feasible. 2024 feasibility study found this plan has already been able. The 2024 feasibility study found this plan is already able to meet 7 out of the 9 state criteria for unification. Adequate enrollment, community identity, geographical logic, no substantial increase in state costs, equitable division of property and obligation, equitable division of bonded indebtedness, and appropriate use of existing facilities.
What were the remaining 2 criteria?
I think those are coming up, yeah. Max, you want to go ahead?
Yeah.
Next slide.
Okay, so, this the study, the person who conducted the study. Felt that there's more work that needs to be done around, the educational programs. And, just in terms of what would it look like with, the new school district and the remnants of the former school district. And there was work that needed to be done there to ensure that, all the districts involved would still be able to, provide sound programs. And, so, and then the fiscal viability, was also another concern. How would things pan out, once a new district was created? So, that's a sort of all of these are sort of, still in motion. The feasibility study that preceded this, looked at the scenario that we looked at and, noted feasibility financial, because it was the financial feasibility study. So, so there's, my school board in Forestville, I'm a trustee on the Forestville, on the Forestville School Board. We have, a subcommittee, for, dedicated to studying school district reorganization. And it's really, Kimberly talks about reopening Molino, and that's great, but we're more focused on, school district reorganization in general, and how we might be able to create, a better, school district for the West County and the rural areas, that provides, good, consistent programming, and can save money and hopefully keep the schools that join, in, basic aid status, which is a possibility. So we're looking at this independent from, what we're doing here tonight. But the criteria are pretty subjective. And, so it's pretty subjective, actually. So, we won't know until we find out in the end. Thanks.
Why this matters: rural families pay more but receive less. El Molino area parcel tax. West County brought in 1.2 million, or brings in 1.2 million a year. Versus Anley area, which is 587,000 a year.
Yeah.
So we contribute a lot more to our schools. And that money currently goes basically to Anley. West County holds 80 million in bond debt. And that's about 50,000 per student. El Molino's closer to the communities it would serve, saving 20 minutes per student commute. And unification realigns spending so rural families benefit directly, which they are not now.
You can do this one.
33% of Anley students are from outside the district. Many local students leave West County entirely. West County lost 250 plus students after El Molino's closure. Restoring a rural high school could reverse this trend. Oh. The articulation advantage. You want to do this, Max, or?
Yeah, this is, something that I just touched upon, one of the obvious, in my mind, one of the obvious advantages of school district organization or reorganization is, giving students a better opportunity to, all be on the same track more or less and have the same, curriculum from K through 12. I think, that's, in my life as a trustee, I see that as even within individual districts, it can be a struggle to ensure that even within a small district, you know, a K-8 or whatever, that the curriculum is being articulated in the same way through all the grades and you know, with disparate school districts, K-8s, all with their own curriculum and each board approving the same or maybe different curricula, that's gonna be a challenge. I think it's gonna present a challenge to kids transitioning into high school. It just doesn't exist in terms of articulation of the curriculum. So it's pretty well established that when you articulate curriculum consistently through grades, the kids are more prepared for the upcoming grade. And unification or reorganization is a good way to get there.
Right, was that? What would it look like? Reopen up Molino as a comprehensive high school. Keep all elementary schools open, no closures. New locally elected board for new district with fair trustee representation. Realign taxes and bonds so rural families benefit directly.
There's a question from someone online asking for clarification on the 20-minute commute one way. So I don't know if you want to clarify your question
Well,
or raise your hand to come.
Yeah, it depends on where you're leaving.
Do you mean the difference between Molino and Hanley?
I'm not really sure what they're asking.
I mean, I
Let
would
me
think
see,
that
we
would
have
be
a
a
couple
20-minute difference.
We have a couple of hands raised now.
Okay.
So let me. And yeah, so the person who's asking the question, I'm just gonna allow her to talk. This is Lana. And go ahead and unmute yourself, Lana.
Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute, we're having a tech, hang on 1 second and let me switch our. Oddly, the owl isn't connected. That was very.
Yeah, you can hear it from here. Okay, go ahead again.
Okay,
Okay,
yes.
can you hear? Okay, go ahead.
There was just a question about the 20-minute commute. Are you calling that one way in terms of, because most kids are traveling 40 minutes at minimum a day?
20 minutes is just kind of the low end of the average. 20
Yeah.
minutes, yeah, because I mean, Fort Ross kids, obviously.
Mary was saying that it's
the difference between Molino and Hanley.
Adding
Oh,
20
okay.
minutes to anybody's commute, basically.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Yes,
Lon-
thank you.
Good traffic.
Yeah.
and good traffic.
Thank you for your question.
And it doesn't include funding parking.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, especially right now.
And then we also have a hand up from Steve Griffith. Go ahead, Steve.
Let me unmute. Am I?
We can hear you.
Oh, good. I have a tech question. I'm on District 5's screen, so I can see you guys. And I guess that's good because I'm seeing your slides. So I probably don't, I'm answering my own question. I don't need to do anything different there. The comment and question I have is, I know that there is an average or a more common added commute time of 20 minutes each way. And that would be from the farther west county. Everyone, I get a little frustrated when people with the best intentions talk about the commute from Casadero and from Jenner and Fort Ross and et cetera. And those are horrendous. There's no doubt about it. But I think it would be helpful if you mentioned the more populous district areas like Guerneville, Rio Neto, Monte Rio, Harmony and Salmon Creek, Occidental. Those places, you're going to be talking to more people. I'm just making a comment and a suggestion that when you talk about the length of the commute, I think you need to include more than just referring to the extreme examples, even though they are terrible and horrendous. So I hope that that falls on, some consideration with you. And now I have a question about this slide. Realign taxes and bonds so rural families benefit directly. Could you just give a little bit of flesh that out? What does that mean, realign taxes and bonds?
Well, I think what it
Is that the next slide or did we already have that slide?
the last one. So the realigned taxes and bonds, so rural families benefit directly would mean that the taxes that West County people pay would go for our kids.
Okay, all right. That's, I can understand that given that I know for some time now that the West County former El Molino boundary area parcel taxes contributed far more than the Annalee former boundary parcel taxes did. So I get that.
So
Yeah.
Steve, so existing bond obligations are existing bond obligations.
Yes,
And, those are not gonna go away. It's kind of like the Palm Drive thing. Everybody out here was paying parcel tax for a hospital system they had no reason to use. Because it's been, 40 years and there's much more, there's more infrastructure closer by for medical care. And then but after a reorganization and new boundaries moving forward, the bond debt would, the bonds would directly benefit, the students and the schools in the new district, and then the former, remnant would also have their own bonds going forward where they would directly benefit. So there would be crossover, for the existing bonds, but for all the new ones, they would be directly benefiting the new district and students, if that makes sense.
yeah, I get it. It seems the prospect of unthreading the mutual obligation through those far-flung, the bond measures, that's going to be a little, it seems to me, a little tricky to finesse and be able to navigate, but I understand what you're saying. And so I'm still all in favor of pursuing having a separate district, a unification into a separate West County or El Molino district, as it might be called.
Thank you, Steve. And I think this is just, the whole process is really complicated. There's a lot of moving pieces and, there's a lot of work that still needs to be done. We're well aware of that. And yeah, the money part of it, the property, the bonds, the taxes, all of that. We're just a core group of folks just working on keeping this momentum going. So that's when it comes to the professionals that come in and that's their job, right? So, and the county and all of that. Oh, you're not doing that chart?
But yeah, that's next.
So this chart again is super, super complicated. And this is, the first chart is when it would go, we would go out and get the signatures of voters, registered voters, and kind of the old way that we used to do it, but this is one of the options that we have. And then the second chart that we have is, I think the one that we're more in favor of. Is that, should we say that or not?
I'm sorry, there's flow chart A and flow chart B.
Correct.
I can't read.
What's the top, what's the first one say for top?
The first one is territory transfer initiated by owners, so it's 25% petition or districting governing boards. And the second one is territory transfer initiated by 10% petition or local agencies. So the second one is, it would go to, Max, help me out here. Can you read that?
I can't read it.
Okay.
I can read it if you want. And the first box says initiated by voter petition or local agency by resolution. And then there's a public hearing. And then it says petition granted, ? And if yes, adopt a tentative recommendation. If no, then you stop. If you adopt a tentative recommendation, then it goes to notice of public hearing, and then public hearing, review of criteria, final recommendation. And these are steps that it goes through the state. And this comes from a state document that I understand will shortly be uploaded to the website under, there's like a document library that's currently empty, but a lot of the things that Kimberly is mentioning tonight will be uploaded there so that people can go and read more and drill down into that.
On the West County Sun website.
On the westcountysun.org. Yeah. You're welcome.
Flow chart B says 10% petition. So, and the first one was what, 30? Was it 30? 25. I see. Okay. Basically the same chart, but just different percentages.
Oops.
Yeah, but this one goes to, I mean, we have to have, I mean, that's why it's great to have Forestville on board with this, because we need to have an elected body who has to hire a petitioner who's gonna write a petition to the state and say this is what we want. And we checked all the boxes. And along with that will be these meetings that we have and people's input. And then once it goes to the state is the one who's gonna say, yes, you've done everything you're supposed to do. But before it goes to that, of course, the school board and another elected body like the Sonoma County School Board will have to go ahead and say, yes, this is something that we
Well,
want to
the any school district can put together a petition, and it goes through the county committee on school district organization, and the county will determine if the petition is complete. And then if it determines that it's complete, then it gives it its blessing. Then it goes to the state, and the state will evaluate it based on the criteria. And if the state deems that all the criteria are met, then it goes to the voters, and it'll be on the ballot. And so that's kind of in a nutshell how it would probably look if a local education agency brought the petition forward.
So how to get involved, ask questions, provide feedback, share with neighbors, invite a conversation to your neighborhood community group. Volunteer, tech support, outreach, communication, and stay connected at westcountysun.org. You can email westcountysun.
We have another hand raised. Leah, you can unmute.
Okay, did I unmute successfully?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, thank you. I'm really probably just coming on generally as I work at the JC now, but have worked as a college and career coordinator in West County and lived in the Russian River area um, for most of my life. So the thing that's the most concerning and also at the same time exciting is that I see Russian River area being in a situation of being proactive in terms of what's going on with our students and our families and our education system in general. Um, and with the swath of consolidations, I feel and I appreciate so much Max and Kimberly and everyone that's been part of this conversation, right? And I don't know how many people are on here, but I'm hoping that it's bigger than the one at the youth park because it really is our students and our families are asking to be involved and be proactive in what we can do with our schools. That said, the infrastructure that the Russian River area has invested already into the campuses is incredible. So being proactive in terms of curriculum and like there's so many things that I'm really excited about. And I just am hoping that everybody just keeps involved and I think it's vital that we do that, that we answer the cries from our students right now. It's not in a good shape right now. Um, and we can do better by it. And um, I think that's it for now. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, everybody. Yeah.
So I guess we could just open it up to questions, comments.
I have a question. So the two things that we don't meet are kind of out of the scope. Right? The two things out of the 7 out of the 9, we met the 7. Two that we didn't meet, we said, okay, we need to look at them. Are they really out of the scope? Is that really stop us
So
or no?
those are, you know, it's a moving target. I mean, you know, the 2021 had it as definitely feasible.
Yeah.
I think the 2024 study, my board wasn't super, we weren't super convinced. So the way that it was called, and I think it's, you know, you're looking at being more efficient and being more streamlined and offering potentially a better product and planning ahead. And I, you know, people I've talked to who do this every day, you know, it can be really subjective. I mean, the state board could look and at a petition and that doesn't appear to meet any of the criteria and says we like it, and vice versa. So it's a bit of a political football. Is the message that I'm getting.
So it's really getting people to sign on in the community is the key. So it's
Yeah.
not trying to meet those two things that seem like moving targets that we've probably already met anyway. It's really getting the community to sign on to join in.
Well, yeah, and when Christy White did the unification study, she actually she didn't meet with the community, she met with the board and superintendents, and sometimes there wasn't even that. So that just did a disservice for.
Can we turn in the 2021 and the 2024 with our application?
Right.
Okay, so it might show up.
Yeah. And I think these meetings, the more we have, the more community input we have. You know, this will all be documented so that we can show the state, look, we do. You know, we have people who actually in the community, in our West County community, who want this to happen. So, yeah, I don't feel that we were representing. Yes.
My question is, okay, because we're all sitting here, my guess is that very few of us have elementary school children. but it's those children who who will benefit or not from this. So how is it that we reach out to families of elementary school children and get them involved? Because I think that's part of how we failed or came up short when Molino was first closed, was that many families out here in the Russian River have parents that work late. They have to go pick up their kids, they have to make dinner, they don't have time to come to meetings.
Right, and that's why we're.
So what's the best way to reach them?
So, I mean, we do have conversations with, Max is on the board at Forest Hill.
Yes.
But I have, 4 kids and 8 grandkids.
Yeah.
So one of my daughter is the principal at Guerneville, so it's out there, and yes, you're correct, everyone's got soccer and baseball and basketball and, life.
Can we direct them to a website to sign on?
Yeah, and that's what we have the website. And people, it's building as we go, we just started this community.
Okay, and how's the Guerneville School Board feel about this?
So,
it's here, I know we have representation.
Yeah.
Of course.
It's a tricky situation, because you have superintendents who are going to lose their jobs. So
That job.
that,
Phil Lansom.
Yeah.
so yeah, absolutely, but their boss is the board. So the board is looking at that superintendent like, okay, so, give recommendation, and they'll say, we think it's a horrible idea. And that is gonna happen. I was on the school board for a long time. I'm well aware of how that works, but I think the more we get out, the more everyone talks to their neighbors and their community members and let everybody know, hey, if you guys, you might consider this or question your school board and kind of make them talk about exactly why this is a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Prove to us, why is this a bad idea?
I think the articulation thing speaks to why it's a good idea. I know that within the same school, there is inconsistency. So you could go from 3rd grade to 4th grade and you could go back to 2nd grade curriculum in 4th grade classroom. Also, because teacher retention is so big.
And I know that, on the school board, when I was on the school board, Mary was the rep for all the teachers, so her and I are been friends for a long time, and we know how hard that is.
Yeah.
Because then you get, different principals, and you get different superintendents, and there's always that kind of the moving pieces, and it's just the way schools go that, I just feel like this would be, we could maybe have a little bit more consistency in making sure that our kids in the primaries are actually ready for middle school and are actually ready for high school.
Yes, especially with so many K through 8s going to the same high school as anybody's guest.
Yeah.
There's a tiny bit of articulation happening when Molino was open, right? And a math team and did some things like English. They're not making any effort at any of that. So I think that's a sell for sure.
It's funny, they don't want to come all the way out here,
But
asking people to go all the way there.
It's a,
By the way, I didn't get to introduce myself. My name is Alice, I'm the children's librarian, for the library.
Oh, great.
So I'm a stakeholder of sorts. So those elementary school kids, I see them. I know where they are and where they're not. And, yeah, it matters to me that they have a local high school. Our team librarian for the Guerneville Library now no longer has a high school he's part of. So it really limits his ability to service for the community as well. So he does a very good, thriving, rich D&D club. So
and I have 6 grandkids that would benefit from it.
yes. Oh, I'm sure everyone here.
Yeah, and
I
we
know
all went to
somebody else who
Molino,
has
and we all, we just, I think it's only fair in looking at just the financial piece of it. It's only fair that we have school. My grandson is a freshman at Windsor.
Yeah, my daughter, we live less than a mile from here. We live down Cody Road. That's it. That's all we're being and they
Yeah,
close
so
school right before.
it's just not fair.
She goes to San Rosa. So we just opted out of district because Annalee wasn't moving. So this is San Rosa, which is a commute.
So I think that, with, like I said, with more and more meetings, more and more momentum, and everyone talking and going, hey, it actually is gonna happen. We're working on it.
you know, and we want to hear from everybody. Why do you think this is a good idea? Why do you think it's a crappy idea? We need to hear from you. Because it'll be all of our.
Can I just chime in on that topic real quick? I know you have a couple of people waiting to talk, but on the point of outreach to these young families, I just want to mention that Kimberly did reach out to all of the parent, like the foundations, the PTAs, and has done a few presentations there, and is very open to people like showing up where people are. So if there were something at the library, like maybe like 15 minutes before story time or after, that might be, if you see an opportunity, reach out.
Yeah.
And she can bring the information to them, because it's definitely a demographic that already has a lot on their plates.
Yeah.
And to come out to a meeting like this meeting is being recorded, so you know, people had the opportunity to attend online, and but to actually be able to participate, if you or anybody listening online or here has suggestions for places where you can find those folks, reach out to Kimberly. Mhm.
On Saturday.
I mean, if you show up at baseball, is there a card or is there a thing with a website address? And just be like, hey, I'm interested in this. This applies to you. And like, that's a bad thing. Your kid, like, hand those out.
Mhm.
And talk to your other parents that are where.
Yeah, bring a flyer. Yeah.
No, you're
right.
right.
Okay, Dana.
What's that?
Yeah.
I am coming at this from an early childhood educator for 25 years. And I really like seeing the TK through 12. Because we always considered it feeder to bump up the population. And it's entirely possible to have people that are there in the morning and after school, so that parents can have a job and know that their child is safe and taken care of. So I really like that, because in all of my training, it was always about continuity of care. And if a child can be on the same campus, starting from the beginning, there's a familiarity with the teachers, with the other students, and they develop a confidence and the ability to be proactive in their own lives, and they have that education and that support. So I really like that. I'm also coming from a position that I grew up at Goat Rock. And my mom had to drive me to Bridgehaven to catch the bus, where kids an hour and a half earlier had come down from Fort Ross. So it would have been very, very inconvenient for her to have to go to Sebastopol and then home and then back to pick me up, or to leave a job to come pick me up. So that's why I'm here in attendance, to advocate for the people that are outside of the big areas, because they're deserving. All children are deserving, all families are deserving. And also, I like the idea of the TK-12 thing, if it could be a combination, because I've worked with parents for 25 years, and having to go to this school and that school and here and there is time consuming, and they can't do it. So if they had one spot, that would ease their life, and that would ease their time limitations. And also, I thought we went to, Anley took us over because they were gonna do all this earthquake retrofitting. And it's my understanding that has not occurred. And they've decided to build another building instead of using our money for a retrofit. And I didn't think that Miss White did a very good job, because she was very open about that she got a lot of her facts and her familiarity with the area through Googling.
Yeah, her
That's
amount of
effective.
driving was like funny, except it was disgusting.
Okay, as an
Yeah.
informational professional.
I mean, I said it at the meeting at Forrestal when she was, presenting, I think it was the first study. That, when you're talking about the 20-minute plus difference in driving, you're actually talking about doing that in and out. And then if it's a younger child, in and out again. So it's really, what is that, 80 minutes at least.
On top of that, you're already doing.
Yeah, and the fault of that first study with the Googling, the distances and the times, no parent really wants their child driving the roads that she was suggesting. It's really the safest thing is to get to Forestville and then go from there. And, I don't know if you put this into your, talking about it, but, somebody at some point had measured the time that it took to get to Emily from El Molino, or Santa Rosa from El Molino, or Windsor from El Molino, and it's all the same. So it really doesn't matter time-wise which school you choose. So you're really looking at quality of school then.
Yeah. I mean, my kids go to Santa Rosa High. They go along with them at Santa Rosa City Schools, it's only one of us, but. Yeah, I mean, it would be just as much time to drive into Annalee than it is to hop on River Road and drive all the way out and down the freeway. And because they don't request, the education quality is higher, because that's. Yeah.
We have a hand raised. We can go online. Steve, you can unmute yourself.
Oh, thank you very much. I just had a question and an observation when it was pointed out that you, Kimberly, reached out to all of the different feeder schools, parent groups. And if so, what was the response and were you able to meet with them? And then I would like to also follow up with another comment.
So I've met with two, and it was very positive. Unfortunately, I think that there is some already conversations out there from supers, board members that are not positive. And so it's just trying to finagle my way into, getting, I have to be careful. I don't want to go onto school campuses. And I know a lot of people, so it's a tricky situation. So all I can do is just get out there and let people know our website, the email, who I am, and hope people reach out. And a lot of people do reach out.
Well, that's heartening to hear. I understand that it's tricky and that, you have competing thoughts about going on school campuses or not. I like the idea that was pointed out earlier about what you can do, namely being to engage in conversations. And I think that bringing the information to those parent groups would, I suspect, do wonders for furthering those conversations and helping to correct, like you say, the narrative that's taking place from superintendents and such who do stand to lose their possible position, not a job necessarily. So what I would like to suggest is that to get those conversations that everyone wants to see happening, I think and all due respect and thanks and appreciation for the time that you and people like Max put in. But to get those conversations going, it seems to me, and I'm sorry I'm going on a little long here, but it seems to me that exactly what you're talking about, meeting with the parent groups, if not also the school boards, to encourage the correct way of framing the potential unification. And I would include with that resources such as, I've talked to you about this before, I believe, Mark Hines, who's one of the top fire chiefs with Sonoma Fire. I met him during our parcel tax campaign, and he is completely willing to come and talk to parents groups to explain the benefits of unification from their experience of unifying all the small all the small fire districts. For instance, Forestville now is part of the Sonoma County Fire District, and it has been a boon to everyone concerned. And I think that having parents and whoever else hear that, it's a very, very parallel case, it seems to me. So thank you for allowing me to make a longish comment, but I'm seeing, forgive me for pointing out, I'm not seeing many people at that meeting. I don't know how many are online. So stirring the pot of conversations would seem to be a primary goal of this group. Again, with all appreciation for what you're doing. So
Thank you, Steve. You know, and I will reach out to Mr. Hines. Maybe it's not a bad idea. I don't know about right now. You know, I really want to get out in the community and see how these meetings go. And then, you know, it's a tough one. Hitting the school boards is just, but yeah, I hear you, Stephen. Thank you very much.
And we do have 2 more hands raised online, but go ahead if you want, Kathy.
Okay, I'll try to be quick, but, so the last time that unification was addressed, I was working in Casillero and Fort Ross, and the fear seemed to be not only losing their autonomy. I don't think they were that worried about actually losing their school, although because they're so far out, you know, but losing their autonomy, and part of that is the superintendent, etc. But also their funding is so different, you know, from a larger school, that they were worried about merging with other schools and not having as much money to play with. They have a lot.
Well, I think that most schools out here are basic A.
Well, they certainly are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost,
are all of them?
I'm pretty sure almost all of them.
all are.
Yeah.
Guerneville is, and
Yeah.
they're all basic A now? Because at that point, I don't know that everybody was. Those little schools out there certainly were. If I may.
Basic aid means what?
It's community funded. It's the funding comes from the property taxes
Oh,
within the district. Because if you were to fund it on a attendance basis, you can't do it. Because if you have a school of 80 kids and you're gonna, you know, 10,000, 15,000 a kid, it doesn't pencil out.
Right.
So the property tax money backfills to bring it up to a budget that's sufficient to operate the school. So the irony is, the fewer kids you have, the more money you have, which is another crazy conundrum of basic aid.
If you bring in more tax, that's the truth, more tax property.
Because the property taxes are the same. It's just based on property value.
So would they, per child, would they be getting, the same amount with this, or would it be?
I don't know, I think.
You can tell
That's something.
that
to-
can be studied, it has been studied, and I think the 2021 study had, it basically said, you know. I'm not gonna say what it said because I don't remember everything, but. That at least will be known whether or not a school will maintain its community funding / basic aid funding. Which is what all the small schools want, if they're gonna be a small school. But if it's, so it's, but it would be one bigger district, and with that bigger district, still be basic aid. And that would be known as, you know, going, you know, before moving forward with the petition.
Because that, I think that actually needs to be figured out.
Yeah.
Because a little teeny school, a school that has 12 kids in a large, over a large area, is probably getting more per kid than a school that has, you know, 200 kids.
No.
And if you're gonna take all of the students and spread that money equally, that means that that little teeny school will get relatively less, potentially. If it's, you know, if it's spread over the whole district, so,
This might be a good opportunity, Kimberly, to explain the opt-out and feed in.
So districts have, so the 7 elementary schools that we have right now. Fort Ross, Salmon Creek, Monterey, Cazadero, Guerneville, Forestville, Oak Grove. If a district decides they do not want to be a part of this, but still send their kids to our unified El Molino, they can do that by doing a petition. Right when we do a petition to the state to say these are all of our ducks are in order, we've checked off all the boxes. We want this to happen and our community wants this to happen. State goes perfect, great, or nope, we're not gonna allow this to happen. Each school district that doesn't want to participate, like Fort Ross, that is, you know, pretty far away, they can write a petition to the state and say, we want to opt out. And they can still send their kids to Guerneville or to El Molino, but they will still keep their school district, their funding, their superintendent, everything the same.
I think that's gonna be huge for those little districts to know and hear, and probably important for you guys to know so that you can, you know, tell them.
Yeah, and we can go ahead with the unification, we can go ahead with the El Molino opening. At least this is what I've been told by SCO, is that we can continue to open up El Molino, even if we only have one school district who decides to go ahead. And then later on, if those schools decide that they want, oh, this is actually a really cool thing, we're gonna actually go ahead and unify, they have the opportunity.
They can do that later if they don't with the initial. Okay. Is there enough funding if it's just one K8 and El Molino? That's the other question I heard people asking, like, is there?
Well, yeah, you see
Was
what the
it, yeah,
tax base
because
is.
we're 2/3 of it, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Those are the kind of questions I get.
Yep.
We lost one of our hand people, but we do have, Leah has her hand up. Leah, please go ahead, unmute yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I do. I think Julie may have been, I'm sorry I was late, but comparatively, like, I know in our last meeting it was 1,500 students that we would need to, what was the 1,500 number? Can you explain that, please?
It's a Christy White number, I think.
That's,
Be the number of students, K,
K-12.
well, that would be the number of students that you'd have to have a high school within the district. Not just the high school, but the K through 12,
K through
there has to be a total of 1,500 kids in order to have a high school. But again, really? Sure? I maybe. I don't think it's really like a hard number that, oh, you don't have 1,500, you can't do it. I don't think that that would really be a barrier if there weren't 1,500 kids. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I looked it up and I was like, that doesn't seem, yeah, that doesn't make sense at all to me. So, um, yeah, going forward, I want to follow up with like I want to appreciate what Kathy said, thank you, Kathy, for mentioning and this discussion around the fear. And I also want to mention that our community is very fearful of since El Molino's closure. We're very, oh, especially because of what happened with the $89, parcel tax and everything. So, in terms of getting community out, um, and getting the word out, like Steve was saying, because it really does take a community conversation, and we want this to happen based on all of those things. And I just had a discussion with a couple of students that attend Laguna, and one lives in Monterey and one lives in Guerneville today, and um they they would be more than happy to get the word out. There's ways that we can get the word out, and there's ways so we can have these discussions, we can keep this platform going on our website, and um utilize all the resources that we have for sure. There's students that know the value of the education that they've had at the various K through 12 campuses that they attended or are attending. And it's really the community. And our community is a community that shows up in a way that uh, that I don't have a parallel. I really don't. The way that the Russian River people show up is pretty miraculous. It's really moving. And so here we are, right? And there's a way to have these discussions, and we're just going to keep these discussions going, it looks like. And Kimberly, can you repeat also, like, I believe you said, um, if only one district decides, like one middle school decides to join, we could go forward.
We can still move forward. Yes.
It's okay. Right. I think that's.
Thank you, Leah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anyone who's heading out, if you haven't signed in, please sign in on the sign-in sheet.
Hey, any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to point out on your articulation advantage, I'd like to add one to the list in regard to a common calendar with the unified districts in a high school would allow for professional development for staff so that this articulation can take place. And it doesn't become what has happened in the past, what was a top-down articulation from the high school to the feeder schools, like, you need to do this. No, it's all of us working together as a community to craft this curriculum that benefits our kids from TK post.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Mary. I mean, a common calendar has so many advantages. The combined professional development being an important one. Yeah.
As a staff person, I would be thrilled with that.
Mhm.
If a petition were to go to the county redistrict organization committee tomorrow, I believe there's conflict of interest on that board right now. And so would it be, if this were to go forward, look carefully at who's on that board.
Yeah.
So that
Anyone with a conflict would have to recuse themselves.
you should be able to feel free calling them out on that if they don't recuse themselves.
Yes.
Just want to make that one out there.
Thank you.
And then finally, there were the 2 points that need to do more work. Create a unified instructional program and fiscal viability. So back to Kathy's concern and other smaller West County districts, that's what that study would do. That study would say, hey, Montgomery, here's how much you're getting per student today. If you were to organize this and redistribute those funds, this is what it looks like 2 years from now. And then they can make a decision. But, just this what if, it's always this, we're gonna lose. And I think we have to look at it more of what can be gained by going forward with this. And I just see nothing but potential. Yeah. And in terms of traveling, especially for our high school students, let's say that you got into a welding program and there was a mentor who's working out of the SimFab unit out there at Austin Creek. Sounds pretty sweet to me. If I live out in that area and my child wants to learn how to weld, great. That's where they're going on Thursdays and learning how to weld. And they're not driving all the way to wherever for their academics. Plus, with hybrid learning, there are a lot of ways that we can deliver curriculum today. It doesn't have to be in person all the time.
Yeah, and that's the really fun part of this. A lot of people came out in Forestville and here looking to say, Kimberly, Max, what is this going to look like? And really, it's things like that. Community members coming out and saying, this isn't like what Max is saying. This is planning for generations in the future and having the whole community say, let's start over. Let's create something that works for everybody, which, education really needs a lot of that. So if this community is willing to do the hard work to do that, because it's hard work for the first few years, but then once that is there, it'll live and to have a school system informed by the local community. And some of the points you made were just fantastic.
On governance. So, again, if you're coming from Casadero and Timber Cove and Fort Ross, a board is comprised of maybe 7 or 8 members, 9 members. That community is represented. And I kept hearing from another district far, far away from here, oh, but nobody ever steps up. And I'm like, you can't assume that, right? People are different today. They're much more involved than they might have been 20 years ago. So I would like to just, again, point out, governance can look any way you decide you want it to look.
On behalf of kids, I'm at the high school. On behalf of the kids who need this, have to do this. Like, I don't even know always who the kids out there are. I look for them, but I don't always know, and they feel unseen. Their needs are often so different than the Sebastopol kids. And it breaks my heart that I don't always know who that is. I'm always looking for it. But I think that's the reason why this needs to happen. Because that extra travel, the feeling like who they are and who their community and who they come from aren't seen there. Is
Yeah.
We have 2 hands online. Ellen, can you please unmute? I see that you're unmuted, but we don't hear you.
Oh, darn.
Oh, no, now we hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I actually attended the Forestville. I had 3 kids go through El Molino. Wonderful experience. And I attended the Christy White session at Forestville School. And on the topic of the educational soundness, I was sort of struck by, it seemed to me like one of the findings was splitting the districts would be such a detriment to Annalee, like taking away all this great stuff, because I know all the great things that my kids got at El Molino. So I was wondering, what are the options to address the educational soundness issue? Because I don't want to have sour grapes, because I'm like, if we hadn't closed the school, we wouldn't have this problem, but how do we deal with that? Like, you know, we need to address that. Criteria number 8.
The part of the reorganization would involve a lot of negotiation amongst the decision makers and management in terms of who gets left with what. And there's a lot of give and take involved. I think one of the it was funny. My board, the option, the scenario 2 that was in the 2021 study consisted of Oak Grove, Forestville, Guerneville, Monterey, Montgomery, Fort Ross, and we said, let's just throw in Harmony, and that was, I think, what kind of took away from maybe what would have kept the numbers up enough for the remainder high school district in Sebastopol to have the numbers to support more robust programming. So that was an ironic twist there. So it's really, you know, there's a lot of resources that are in the district, and reorganization would mean splitting those resources up, and how that translates into whether or not any of the districts are going to have sufficient programming to justify, like you said, like we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and everyone be left with less programming. So that would be, you know, a delicate dance in terms of who would get left with what. And, you know, Annalee is funded, you know, based on its numbers. So it relies on numbers to justify and to support, you know, good programming. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my attempt. Yeah.
Am I still, can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, no, I don't have an answer, but I just personally felt frustrated that I'm like, gosh, we had this amazing high school and then now we don't. And so just want to figure out how do we, you know, build back towards that comprehensive high school. And if there are things we can do to meet the educational soundness criteria, I'm interested in knowing what we can do. If it means building up both, you know, however we can meet that criteria, I'm interested to learn what we can do. Thank you.
Of those of us in the unincorporated part of the county, we're at a disadvantage because we don't have the consistency in services. And so, you know, we have all these little agencies everywhere, school districts everywhere, special districts everywhere. It's all very disparate, and it doesn't really speak to government efficiency. And that's one of the things that I think we have to look at, because there are fewer and fewer students available, and you have all these schools competing. You know, it doesn't matter what district your kid lives in anymore. They can go anywhere they want. That didn't used to be. So it's kind of so consolidating, unifying resources is going to be a more efficient model moving forward to address the declining enrollment that continues. And, you know, we have schools now that, I mean, when I started on my board, we had twice as many kids as we have now. So that has to be addressed. And the only way to really address that is to reorganize, because we're not, the status quo is the schools are dying on the vine. And
well, I'm going to sign off, but I would love to have my grandkids all go to El Molino. So I'm supporting and just want to know how we can help address those criteria. Thank you.
so much.
And we have 2 more hands online. Is there anybody in the room that, okay, I'm going to Lana. You can unmute yourself now.
Okay, it's maybe just a tangent, but with the West County District Board planning to refloat a bond measure, like another bond. I worry about getting maybe out in front of that somehow. Because I don't want us to be, especially from out here, right, tax paying. I don't want to be sending more money to a school that doesn't benefit my, my kids, my neighborhood, my community. And I don't know what that means in terms of action, but I think we just have to keep it in mind that that's their plan, is to go for more bond money. So
They passed a bond before they closed down Molino.
Yeah.
They passed a bond, and then a few months later, and they floated one recently, and I think the message was, good luck.
Yeah.
And so that's a tough nut for them to crack, given the climate. So that's a very good point. And because that obligation, once it exists, it doesn't really go away. And that's the obvious pull for the high school district, is to have all this revenue out here. All this property tax revenue is huge. So it's about money, and that's what I mentioned before, is in reorganization, there's a lot of give and take of resources, and so everything is reorganized.
So yeah, and I just, this idea that they're using that money on both campuses and stuff is a lot of smoke and mirrors, lipstick on pigs kind of idea. So it'd be important to know that, like, as a community, West County community, that we were maybe working in conjunction in terms of people speaking for or against a bond, and like working with you guys, right? Like, just making sure we're all flying in the same direction. Like you said, there's so many different little agencies and little things, but just making sure that we're also keeping our money for our kids. So
This is another fly in the ointment, I guess. They are apparently putting a large effort into the Innovation Academy. And if you tour it, it's pretty amazing. And I think that there will be people that are attracted to it, and it is on the Molino campus. So that we just need to be aware of that and kind of have a plan for how we're gonna work with it or around it or inside it or whatever.
It was made very clear. I was very outspoken at a board meeting when that was happening, and I said, you realize if the Molino committee is gonna figure this out, and then you're gonna have a school built there, and it's gonna have to go, because Molino gets back. And
well, they put
they
put $2.5 million into infrastructure. I mean, which is, the school needed it. I mean, they did resurface the school, and it looks much better now, which is good, because you can't just let things sit. So that's the positive I take from that, is they are paying attention to the campus and keeping the campus up to now. So and on the programming there, I mean, Laguna's there, and they added this because they're, the high school district still has a big structural deficit, so they need to raise money. So there's a lot of reasons why they're doing that.
It just needs to be
in the consciousness.
Oh,
of
absolutely.
The thing.
Yeah.
And Anley also, West County also has the option, just like we're looking at unifying our elementaries, they actually have the option to unify with the couples of after schools.
To
To unify over there. So, it's not like, you know, a divorce is gonna happen and just let high and dry. They have options that they could be working on. So, but it's not our responsibility.
We do it all the time.
I think we're close to. being
Lana
there.
has her hand up again.
Who?
Lana,
Oh, okay.
Lana, you can go ahead and unmute.
Yeah, sorry to keep talking. The money going into the academy isn't coming from the district, right? Dale Doherty is funding.
No, it's bond money. It's infrastructure. I don't know how much, was contributed privately. I can't speak to that. But I was told by the superintendent that they put in $2.5 million in infrastructure improvements. and
No,
maintenance. So that's all I know.
The blacktop resurfacing and that, not the program.
yeah, not into the academy.
Not into the academy.
The academy is 2 classrooms in the L building across from the library. And, they've cleaned out the biology rooms, but they haven't added teachers or that and I'm just saying, at the other board meetings for their district, we keep asking for how much is actually being put into the academy. And what we're told is, no, this is all being paid for, with district money and because of the number of students we have. So I think that what I heard was over $100,000 in equipment was put into those art rooms, those old art rooms, right? But I think that it's another case of moving around money that isn't serving a proportionate amount of kids. So
we're running out of time. I think there's one more hand and let's go ahead and do that. and
Okay.
we're Going to call the meeting.
Okay.
Is
And
there another one?
there is Leah. You can unmute yourself. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, to echo Lana, is that the mismanagement of funding is rampant in our districts. I mean, that's what's going on. That's where students and families are suffering. And going back to my initial, like the first time that I spoke, I think is like we are sitting at really like a nest egg because we have a community that is involved and wants to help. So let's go. Let's make these schools better and be proactive with what we're doing with our funding. For sure. Yeah.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you, everyone online, and thank you, everyone, for being here. And please, give us a couple days, and our website will have all of our slides and more information and stuff. And please feel free to reach out with the Gmail, West County Sun, if you have any questions or ideas or places you want me to come and speak and share things. I've gone to farmers markets and the chambers and the rotaries and town halls. So I hate public speaking, but be there.
But you can do it. Will the slides that you were showing be on the website? No, that's what you're saying, right? Okay,
Yeah.
good. So I can scooch in on those little maps? Okay, great. Perfect.
Hopefully
Let me
everyone.
just turn this off.